April 24, 1980, a top-secret U.S. rescue mission collapsed in the Iranian desert, leaving 8 Americans dead and Delta Force humiliated on global television. 6 days later, May 5, 1980, Britain's SAS stormed London's Iranian embassy, securing history's most famous hostage rescue in just 17 minutes. Why do Delta Force operators refuse to speak of these events? The real reason is more painful and transformative than rivalry or pride. The rescue plan demanded precision across continents. The mission would send Delta Force deep into Iran, over 1,000 miles from friendly territory. 8 Navy RH-53D Sea Stallion helicopters launched from the deck of the USS Nimitz, flying low and fast over water and desert, their rotors cutting through night and uncertainty. Their destination was a remote patch of Iranian salt flat known only as Desert 1. There, under cover of darkness, they were to rendezvous with a fleet of Air Force C-130 transport planes already inbound from Oman. The C-130s carried Delta operators, Army Rangers, fuel, and the backbone of the assault force. The operation's complexity was staggering. The helicopters would land at Desert 1, refuel from the C-130s, and load the assault team. From there, the plan called for a second flight, this time even deeper into Iranian territory, to a second secret site dubbed Desert 2, closer to Tehran. The next night, Delta would move into the city, link up with local assets, and launch the assault on the U.S. Embassy to free 52 hostages. Every phase depended on exact timing and flawless coordination. The helicopters had to fly through unpredictable weather, avoid detection by Iranian patrols, and arrive at the desert rendezvous within a narrow window. The C-130s, flying separately, had to land on an unmarked strip in total darkness, guided only by combat controllers using infrared lights. Any failure, a mechanical problem, a navigational error, a delay, could unravel the entire operation. The mission required a minimum of 6 helicopters to proceed. The loss of even 1 or 2 could force an abort. Each aircraft represented a single fragile link in a long chain. The planners understood the risks, but with American lives on the line and the world watching, they pressed forward. The operators, pilots, and ground crews rehearsed every step, knowing that in the desert there would be no second chances. April 24th, 1980. The helicopters approached Desert 1, battered and late. The desert air is thick with dust, an unforecasted haboob, a wall of sand that blinds pilots and chokes engines. Out of the original 8 RH-53D Sea Stallions, 3 are already lost. 1 to instrument failure, another to a cracked rotor blade, a third forced down by hydraulic trouble. Only 5 make it to the salt flat, 1 short of the minimum needed to continue. The plan, already stretched thin, cannot survive another loss. Delta operators and air crews wait in the darkness, engines idling, nerves frayed. The decision comes down. Abort the mission. There will be no rescue tonight. As crews scramble to refuel and prepare for withdrawal, confusion and fatigue set in. Blowing sand makes visibility almost zero. In the chaos, Bluebeard 8, one of the RH-53D Sea Stallions, lifts off in a cloud of dust, loses orientation, and collides with an EC-130 refueling aircraft. The fireball is immediate, jet fuel ignites, flames leap into the night sky. The explosion kills 5 Air Force crewmen and 3 Marines instantly. Their names are not spoken here, but their absence will echo for years. Survivors rush to pull comrades from burning wreckage, but there is nothing to be done. The order to evacuate is given. In the panic, classified documents and equipment are abandoned. The remaining C-130s take off, leaving behind the wreckage, the dead, and the mission's shattered promise. Back in Tehran, the hostages remain in captivity. By morning, Iranian state television broadcasts footage of the scorched aircraft and the remains of the fallen. The images circle the globe, a public record of American failure. 8 men lost, a nation humiliated, and a small, untested unit left to carry the weight of disaster. The silence that follows is not just protocol, it is a wound that will never fully close. In a quiet room, thousands of miles from the chaos of Desert One, a handful of American officers sat in front of a television screen. These were senior Delta Force planners, men who had spent the past week haunted by the loss of 8 comrades and the bitter taste of failure. Their names never appeared in news reports, their faces absent from the crowds gathered outside the Iranian embassy in London. Yet, as the world tuned in to the BBC broadcast on May 5th, 1980, these officers watched in silence as the SAS prepared to storm the building. The embassy siege had drawn the attention of governments everywhere, but for Delta, the broadcast was more than a spectacle. It was a mirror. 6 days earlier, they had left wreckage and grief in the Iranian desert. Now, they watched another special operations unit, one with decades of experience, move with calm precision under the gaze of millions. Every movement on that screen was a lesson they could not ignore. The sense of humiliation ran deep, not because the British had succeeded, but because Delta's own first test had ended in disaster. The officers in that room had spent years training for the kind of mission unfolding in London, yet their own attempt had unraveled in the sand. The difference was impossible to miss. The SAS had time, intelligence, and home field advantage. Delta had gone in with incomplete information, no rehearsal, and a plan held together by hope and urgency. For these American observers, the embassy siege was not just a demonstration of skill, it was a reckoning. The grief for their lost teammates lingered in every glance and unspoken word. They understood what was at stake with a clarity that only survivors know. In that moment, watching the SAS on live television, the impulse to learn was inseparable from the pain of what had been lost. The lessons would shape the future, but the silence in that room would last for years. In the months after the embassy siege in London, the American Special Operations community moved quietly but decisively. Behind closed doors, a new command structure took shape. The Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, was chartered before the year ended, bringing together Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, and other elite units under a single unified authority. This was more than bureaucracy. It was a direct answer to the confusion and fragmentation that had plagued the Iran rescue attempt. Aviation received its own answer. The 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, soon known as the Night Stalkers, was activated to provide dedicated helicopter support. No more borrowing aircraft or relying on pilots unfamiliar with the mission. The Night Stalkers would train for the same risks, the same darkness, the same exacting standards as the operators they carried. At Fort Bragg, construction crews broke ground on a new facility, a close-quarters battle house modeled directly after the SAS killing house at Hereford. Here, Delta began drilling room entries, explosive breaching, and hostage rescue tactics, methods studied from every available report, broadcast, and after-action summary from London. The philosophy changed. Rehearse until every movement is automatic, every variable accounted for. Immediate action drills, explosive entry, and stun grenade tactics became part of the daily routine. Selection standards rose. Psychological screening grew sharper and the pipeline toughened. Operators who passed were sent through thousands of repetitions in the new facility, learning to move as one body, to clear rooms in seconds, to adapt under stress. The reforms did not stay theoretical. In 1983, Delta operators landed in Grenada, conducting successful raids that restored confidence within the unit. In 1985, they responded to the Achille Lauro hijacking, another test, another demonstration of hard-won capability. By the mid-1980s, Delta was no longer a question mark. The unit had become what its founders envisioned, a force shaped by loss, rebuilt in silence, and now standing on equal footing with the best in the world. Modern Delta operators are products of that reformation. Every tactical technique, every training evolution, Every selection standard carries the ghost of May 5th, 1980. The silence is not just shame, it is respect for the 8 men who died and acknowledgement of the British unit that showed them the way. Delta became elite by admitting they were not, studying those who were, and rebuilding from humility. Elite units are built on lessons learned in silence, sometimes from others' victories, sometimes from their own failures. Today, Delta Force's quiet professionalism reflects that inheritance. In a world still hostage to crisis, the price of perfection remains measured in humility. What would you have done in their place?